Ready to get that fall garden going? Me too. I'm Christine Ray Miller, founder of the Imagine Garden, where I get to share my organic kitchen garden with you, and together we'll watch our imaginations come to life. And I'm ready to get going, but the compost pile I have that's next in line, it's not ready. But my local garden center has bags of potting soil on sale, high quality, and it's on like clearance sale. And that's also why I wanted to make sure that you know about this right now in case yours are on clearance too. But I've been able to use this, and I'm going to show you how I have been quickly and easily and pretty inexpensively getting my garden beds refreshed and ready to plant for fall. August and September have been doing what August and September do. They've been nice and dry, which is perfect for drying black-eyed peas and things like that, but not so great for getting soil ready or baby plants ready to go. So the bed prep we're doing actually started the night before. Since the soil had been so dry, and we're going to be working in some fertilizer into just that top layer of soil right around the plants. Since the soil had been so dry, I just carried out a couple of rounds of watering cans and soaked the soil real well. And I did it the night before so that things could soak in where it wasn't going to be muddy as we were working with things. And that's a tip that you can use if you need to sow seeds anytime it's dry. Just the night before or several hours before, go out and wet things down pretty well, let it settle for a little bit, and then it's ready to roll. It is the next day and time to start clearing the old stuff out of the beds. And I actually waited to do this until after I had watered because it makes weeding easier as well. But I've got things like parsley and celery that have gone to seed. I let those do that because one, the insects love the flowers, and two, the parsley and celery will reseed themselves, and then I don't have to plant so many from scratch. So I've got things like that to clear out, and even squash plants that I can tell aren't going to make it by the end of the season. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of those and not tempt the squash bugs at all. But we're clearing out the old, and then we're going to put down a layer of fertilizer that I will tell you about a little bit more. And we're going to mulch with that potting soil that I showed you. So in my ideal setup, all of my inputs would be coming straight from my own compost pile and my own things out of the garden, but I'm not in an ideal situation yet. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing in case it helps you out while you're getting things going as well. Next, we're ready for fertilizer. And the first thing I'm putting down is bone meal. And it's because it has both nitrogen and phosphorus. If you've noticed the NPK labels on fertilizer before, that's what the N and P are, nitrogen and phosphorus. And most of the plants that are going in the fall need plenty of nitrogen. I've got it's the leafy greens that we're going to be growing throughout the winter, but the phosphorus helps with root development, so still very relevant now. And phosphorus is also what you need for good bloom and fruit production. So even though that's not happening in the fall, next spring when we're ready for those to happen, and well, actually we get to have some flowers through fall and winter. You're going to see that if you stick with the Imagine Garden, but the phosphorus will be more important next spring, and we want to go ahead and let that start getting into the soil in the fall so that it's ready to go for us. So bone meal is the first thing that I'm putting on, and you'll want to read your package and instructions and know your size to tell how much that you're putting on your space, but a couple cups per bed was just about right for me. And then next, we're going to improve the beneficial microbes in the soil. If we had compost ready, those beneficial microbes would be in the compost for us. Or I have also used earthworm castings before. What I'm using today is, yes, you saw that correctly, chicken poo. And not to worry, it is composted. It comes that way, so it's not going to smell up the whole neighborhood or anything like that. But whether we are talking compost or earthworm castings, which is composted earthworm poo, or the chicken poo, um, whether we're talking about any one of those, they're all getting decomposing things back into the soil. And so it's just acknowledging that our garden is part of that whole cycle of life where the decomposing stuff goes in to help feed the new things that are coming out. So there is so much to learn with soil science, and I don't think science even has things all uncovered yet. So there will always be a chance to learn more about that. But for right now, just understanding that we're getting the good decomposing stuff down in to help feed the soil. So we're not like spiking things with synthetic fertilizers. We're actually feeding the soil, and that whole relationship is what's going to feed our plants then. Then I'm working those materials we just put down into the soil a little bit, and it might look like I have a rather small, inefficient looking tool in hand, but I'm actually working around plants. I still have plants in there that I want to keep that are going to be growing this fall and winter for us. So I'm just lightly working that in, nothing major where I'm destroying any soil structure or anything like that, but out in nature, the birds and critters would be working things in, the earthworms are going to work that in. I'm just speeding up the process just a little bit. Time for our last step, which is to mulch with that potting soil find I was sharing with you. This would be the perfect place to use some freshly sifted compost, but we are using my clearance find for today. And it's going to add some volume back into the beds as well as make a nice level surface for us to plant on. And it is perfectly fine to bring that soil right up to the stems for most of the plants that we have in the vegetable garden. In fact, you'll find as we transplant things that we bury a lot of stems. It's beneficial and makes a stronger plant to do that. The exception would be things in the chicory family. We want to make sure that we've got that pulled away from the stem so that it's not prone to rot. So there we have it. We've got our beds all fresh and ready to plant again. And ready to plant again, not just for now, but for all through the winter. A lot of things that are started now and are the things that I have kept in the ground, if they survive, which a lot of them do, they're going to be making it all through the winter. So make sure, if you haven't watched the greenhouse video that I made for you, make sure you watch that one next and see how to put one of these greenhouses together so we can hang out and grow plants all year long. And some of those things that will be growing include the Swiss chard that's already starting to perk up after the summer, baby carrots you can see that are coming through the freshly prepped beds that I had done earlier, along with China jade radishes. So you can see how those nice smooth beds are ready to roll again. And most of the fun right now has been happening on the inside. We've got lots of little guys that are going to be ready to go out to the garden pretty soon, and I'll be filling you in on that next week. So ideally, all of the compost and inputs that go into my garden would be coming from my garden. Not the case, but for pretty low input, this has been a decent solution. And one more bonus, the bags, you can actually save them for fall cleanup, and some of your leaves that you have, if you don't have a good way to mulch them, these are great bags to put your leaves in. They're already perforated for drainage. They're dark where they're going to help things kind of decompose in there. So one other bonus to what we're doing today. So not perfect, but a lot of positives, and not perfect, but a lot of positives. So with that, thanks for coming out to play today. Take care, and I'll see you again next time.